What's it like buying from heritage auctions? We're gonna find out. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, I actually won something at heritage auctions by accident. It was the first day of the auction, so I thought, alright, I'll just throw this weird bit on here, because I wasn't really that interested in the guitar. Then 2 weeks later, I get an email that says, congratulations, you've won. So I was like, oh, that auction must not have got a whole lot of traffic, because that's a pretty decent deal, even considering buyer's premium, but it looks like they give you a free How to Be a True Collector book. And to be honest, when you really get serious about collecting, a lot of these topics I never even knew to think about until very recently. So maybe I will give this a quick little skim. But no, I was more so curious about like the behind the scenes work. How well do they pack their stuff? So far, it seems pretty good as double boxed. But the other thing I was curious about was condition and originality. How in depth do they really go? Because last year I had a pretty negative experience buying a guitar somebody had purchased from Heritage and they didn't fully disclose all the non-original parts and it kind of created a whole snafu. So I thought I'd give them another shot. But yeah, their pack job, second to none. Very happy with that. But let's see what guitar I won at auction. It's inside a Lifton reissue case, so that tells you some. But then, yeah, it's another one of these. I'm sorry, guys. I put this bid in before I bought that last one we unboxed. It is another one of those lonely / Brazilian dreams. Looks like we got all this paper in here so it doesn't move around. But ooh, yeah, we're seeing some scratches on this one. But you gotta remember, this was a VOS finish from the factory. And the last Brazilian Dream that we had unboxed, I went ahead and did a full deep polish and basically removed the VOS but made it look brand new. So I've got both different ones on my shop. It just kind of depends on what you're going for here. But on first glance here, it looks like it was used a little bit, but it definitely survived the trip okay, thanks to their pack job. But look at that. That's a really late serial number, 121. If I remember correctly, they made 150 of these, but you can check out the full review and demo in this episode. But just some quick recap history here if you did miss that video and you don't have time today. They're basically just a plain top R8 that has a Brazilian rosewood fretboard. That's what makes them special. And they've got the whole slash signature going on, and they get the cool green interior Lifton case, as well as a whole slew of cool case candy like slash glasses. There's an armband, a belt buckle. And then I didn't realize it when I was buying this one that the slash hat's actually missing. This is from my other one. So that completes the story as to why I purchased this hat from the Gibson garage. It's not exactly the same, but I'd actually argue this hat's cooler. But I think I've decided, since it looks like the dinosaur handkerchief is missing too, I think I'm just gonna keep my cool hat and we'll just sell it without it. But these were $13,000 brand new. They sold a good amount of them, but recently, just last year, the demo shop had a whole slew of them that they blew out between $11,000 to $13,000. And that re-established the market for these. It turned them into an underdog model, so I have a newfound appreciation for them because of that. And ever since then, the market's actually been pretty strong. So let's continue our heritage journey here, because I'm going to tell you how much I paid for this. My actual hammer price, which, I was shocked that I won, was only $7,000. However, you also have to remember there's a buyer's premium thrown on top of that, so that's almost another $2,000. So then they also throw sales tax on you, service and handling, whatever, shipping. Let me tell you, $111 for that packing job and shipping it via FedEx, that was well worth it. But my total came out to be $9,500. So even though it's missing a little bit of case candy, as long as you have the COA, it doesn't really matter. So I got a fantastic deal on this. Communication was great with Heritage. However, it did take them like 3 weeks to ship my guitar. They didn't really tell me to expect that, so I was kind of curious, when is my guitar actually coming? But let's be real here, that auction had like 200 some guitars, and if they're packing them all this good, I guess I can understand it would take some time. So as far as the condition overview here, it's really just that slight scratch on the top that I feel probably could have been disclosed a bit better. And then maybe in this section they could have said it's missing the dinosaur handkerchief and the slash hat. But I guess to know that, you would have to be an expert about this particular model or look at my videos that I post. But let's be real here, the original slash hat does not fit in the case, so I get why that's missing. But another thing, they said this was only 7.1 pounds. That's ridiculously light for a Les Paul. I'm gonna have to fact check that. Yeah, that's gonna be a negative. Honestly, if I had paid any more for this guitar, I probably would have been upset. Unless it's a really rare piece, I don't think I would honestly buy from them again. Or if they do have something I'm interested in, I will keep my bids a little bit more conservative, because there always seems to be some inaccuracies about the condition or maybe about the weight. But overall, I'm happy with this purchase, so let's get to some other cool stuff. But before we continue the unboxing fun today, we need to hear a word from our sponsor tonight, Sweetwater. I've been a customer of theirs for well over 10 years. If you need any type of new music gear, they are the place to go. I find that they're one of the easiest ones to shop online from, because I'm buying a lot of high-end guitars, right? So I want to be able to see the top, I want to know how much it weighs, and I want it presented in a manner that makes a lot of sense. And that's exactly what their website offers. They even have a used gear marketplace. And if you're local to their Fort Wayne, Indiana campus, they also have music lessons. They have some cool events, and hey, they also do monthly giveaways that you can enter by clicking that link in the description. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring tonight's episode. Now let's get back to the unboxing. Continuing on here, I teased you guys this one a couple of episodes back. This is something that I had traded for. When my buddy from Canada came down to sell some guitars, I saw these two, and there was a guitar of mine that he was interested in. So I offered him a trade. He thought about it, and he said, all right, yeah, I'll take that guitar home. We'll just consider these yours. So the first one here, it is an orange and black Zoot suit. Now, unfortunately, this one does not have the original knobs, but it's very common for those to crack and break. But the rest of the condition is pretty much there, and I desperately want a complete set of these Zoot suit guitars again. I only paid $10,500 for that complete set. I think that was back in, 2018? People are asking silly prices for these nowadays. They're not selling, people. They're not selling. You gotta look at the completed sales, not what people are asking. And that's true for a lot of stuff in today's market. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I really do not like the way Zoot Suit SGs play. The whole 24 frets, they're really heavy. But they're cool. They're really cool, and that's why I like them, because they just look great as a set. But kind of a fun story behind this one is typically these things came in a gig bag, right? But this one has a case. I think he said he got the case from like Australia, shipped to him in Canada, and then it's now with me. But this case is from 2015. It was a limited edition style case, which we also learned was birthed off of what they were going to use for the Gibson Hendrix Stratocaster. And the last guitar in our 2-for-1 trade might surprise you. I remember when these things came out. It was so exciting when the Henry J era reissued my favorite budget model Les Paul. Inside here, we have a beautiful The Paul reissue. It was Gibson reissuing this for the early 2019 models. I think they might have had them in late 2018, but it's that really pushed the vintage ones off into a whole new stratosphere as far as value. Because if I remember correctly, these were like $1,400 new, whereas a vintage one would typically run you between $700 to $1,100. So these didn't really make a lot of sense in that aspect to buy, but usually these obscure Norland era reissues, they do pretty good if you hold on to them for a long time. Like 10 years, they start to appreciate. But this was a very fine example. The walnut wood that they used on these, this one has like a little bit of flamed figuring. Now, this one's not in perfect condition. It's got a couple of light scratches and nicks and dings, but I love the Paul so much, I am going to hold this back in my personal collection because it's just a cool, quirky guitar. Here you can see some of those light blemishes I was talking about, so he definitely played it a tad. But he had said he had purchased this one from Sweetwater. This next one is kind of an unboxing, but it's a guitar that's been within my collection. But when I did my collection review video this year, you know, the whole big one where I took everything out of all the cases, when putting this one away and documenting photos, you know, for insurance purposes and things like that, I noticed something that made me very sick to my stomach. The finish is starting to flake off the headstock. It's definitely been documented well on the internet that some of the early Murphy Lab guitars, something was not quite right with the finish. But you can see like this area and right there, like if I were to brush this, the finish would start flaking. So thankfully, I am the original owner of this one. I got it from Musician's Friend. This was the original review and demo piece. So I did a warranty claim and they said, send it in, we'll take a look at it. But despite it being an aged guitar, like if all the finish was just missing along the edges, whereas the other ones aren't, that'd be kind of weird. So we'll see what becomes of this one. And our next one is in this package. So as a collector and a future museum curator, I guess you could say, I always like to pick up things that are kind of hard to find. You can't always buy them at a fair price. And this is one of those items. In the early 2000s, sometimes rare limited edition releases that were like Murphy aged and stuff would get these really cool display cases. And typically today, they don't actually get sold with the guitar because somebody has sold it in the past and they didn't want the hassle of shipping the whole display case, or they wanted to keep it themselves and just said they didn't have it. So when this thing popped up on Reverb for a fair price, I mean, it's the Gary Rossington. I think it was around 2002, the Les Paul. So you're supposed to put the Les Paul right there and then have this mounted up on your wall to look all cool. Most of these wooden cases would actually be mounted sideways. So the Strat buttons go on the side over here, and then it's just like a nice little photo box for it. So to see one of the vertically mounted ones with like a string swing holder on it is actually even more rare. And you know what? In the photos, I thought they just didn't actually put any type of a graphic right there, and it was like ripped, or they just figured the guitar's gonna cover it and they didn't have it. But no, that's just something in the foreground of the shot. But I'll be honest, this is a really blurry looking print that they've got going on with this one. But then again, they were probably trying to replicate a very old photo. And from a couple feet back, it's not too bad. But there's what it looks like with a Slash Les Paul in it. So if you're selling any of these old 2000s Gibson cases, I would like one of each, I think. Because this is the older custom art historic one. I used to have one that had just the regular custom shop logo. It's easy enough to build these yourself, but there's just something cool about these, you know, being official Gibson products, and they don't currently sell anything like this. And in fact, I'm actually noticing a construction difference. You see how the top and bottom of the horizontal one has that black binding, I guess you could say? This one has it on the top and bottom as well, but it's technically the sides of that other one. So these are actually constructed just a little bit differently. Next up here, we've got some viewer mail and a couple of small packages. Our first one being a priority mailbox. If I remember correctly, this was a eBay auction win. Hey, it's those dirty fingers that we talked about in this guitar hunting episode. I told you guys to steal them from me, and you didn't. I got a great buy on this set, simply because they were only advertised as Gibson patent numbers, and they didn't have the years or the actual dirty fingers in the title. So sometimes you can watch auctions and get a pretty good deal. I guess the one caveat is he said that he was unable to test them, but you do get the pots here. That's just a freebie as far as I'm concerned. It's nice that you do have the pickup rings, but I'm kind of scared to ohm these out and see if they work. Our first one here is looking peachy, about 16k ohms where it's supposed to be. And the other one, the last guy wasn't kind enough to leave an exposed wire, so I'll have to get my wire strippers and test that one later. And in case you're looking for these kind of harder to find gold pole piece versions, I will be putting these on my Reverb shop since they're not new old stock and I don't need them in my collection. Next up, a fan of the show sent this in. Trevor heard me talking about how I like the Kirk Hammett picks, but I don't currently have any. And he's like, hey, I've got like 10 of them I will never use. Can I please send them to you? It's like, yes, thank you. I will enjoy using these. I've just always felt these have a good shape. They're the right thickness for me, but they're just Jazz 3 picks. Here's a piece of mail that's been waiting quite some time for me to open. Another piece of Gibson memorabilia. Pretty sure I bought this in November, but it's just been sitting on my desk waiting for the right unboxing episode. I thought this was a little bit cheesy. It's a Gibson tie. The headstock looks okay. Your fretboard, interestingly saturated, but then you get to the body and it's like, oh no. Crazy looking humbucker in the neck, and then that might as well just be a mini humbucker, which, oh my goodness. I need to custom order this from Gibson. A mini humbucker in the bridge, then a humbucker in the neck, and wear this while I do the demo. But I'd never seen one of these before, and it appears to be legit Gibson, probably late 90s, early 2000s would be my rough guess here. And apparently it's called a Nighthawk, and was made by Why Not? And that's exactly what I said when I saw it. Why not buy it? And next up, we've got this white box. It appears to be another addition to my new old parts collection. Okay, yeah. So I found this on Facebook Marketplace and took the risk of having somebody ship it to me. This is a new old stock TP6 tailpiece. I'm kind of sad about the condition of this one. I mean, that's a lot more beat up than I was expecting. And what really stinks is there was a pristine one on eBay auctions, and I wanted to get it, and I missed the end of the auction. And sure, I got this one for half what that other one sold for, but I don't know. It might just be worth selling this one as is to somebody who wants to use a TP6 tailpiece, because that's perfectly fine. But until I find a better one, I guess I'll throw it in the stash, because this looks like 2000s era to me. Whereas this was the 80s box, and then in the 70s, they also came in this box. But it's just kind of cool to see the evolution of the packaging from giant box, which isn't really retailer friendly if you're stocking a whole bunch of them, to slightly more aesthetically pleasing small box, to the plastic sealed things that we use today, which aren't anywhere near as cool, but a little bit more practical. So, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Lots of fun guitars and stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day, and you might even enjoy this next one.